Are you ready to stop learning trivial Spanish words like animal names and colors? How about some words you're actually going to use in every Spanish conversation? In this video, we'll go over the top 10 nouns based on a frequency analysis of real Spanish spoken by native Spanish speakers. These are words you actually need to connect on a deep and personal level with the Spanish speakers in your life. Let's start with just a list of the top 10 nouns, and I'm guessing this list is going to surprise you. Here they are, listed in order of how frequently they're used in native Spanish conversations. We're about to dive in and practice using all of these, but first notice that most of these words are abstract and general. We don't have nouns for things like bird and desk. Instead, we have nouns for thing and time and truth. There's a reason for that. As I'm about to show you, you can use these words to get you a lot further than you could ever get with a bunch of animal names or colors. Let's start with a couple of pretty easy words, casa and cosa. The word casa literally means house, but it can actually also mean home. So let's start with a pretty simple example that you've probably heard before. My house is your house. Mi casa es tu casa. So here we said mi casa. Anytime you would say the house, you'll say la casa, because the word casa is a feminine noun. For example, she is at the house. Ella está en la casa. But you would also use the word casa anytime that you would say at home in English. The phrase is en casa. Here are a couple of examples. My friend is at home. Mi amiga está en casa. I feel at home. Me siento en casa. Now time for a little practice. I'm going to quiz you with a few examples. I'm going to show you the English, and then you should see if you can predict the hidden portion in the Spanish. It's going to be either la casa, en casa, or mi casa. Okay, first example. This is my house. Esta es mi casa. She is at home. Ella está en casa. I'm at home. Estoy en casa. This is the house that you saw? Esta es la casa que viste? All right, now for the word cosa, which literally means thing. This is a super handy word, especially when you don't know the name of something. You can just vaguely say the thing. The thing translates as la cosa because this is a feminine noun. So for example, I don't have the thing. No tengo la cosa. It's also useful to point at something and say that thing, which would be esa cosa. For example, what is that thing? ¿Qué es esa cosa? And then, as another way to use this, to say the things in the plural, you'll say las cosas. For example, the things are fine. Las cosas están bien. Let's practice la cosa, esa cosa, and las cosas. I'm going to quiz you again, and I'm also going to throw in one or two examples of casa, just to help make sure you can choose between them. First, I want that thing. Quiero esa cosa. These are the things that she had. Estas son las cosas que ella tenía. The house isn't here. La casa no está aquí. The thing isn't here. La cosa no está aquí. Next, let's look at the word hombre, which means man. This is super frequently used, and it's really useful because you can use the word to refer to someone vaguely when you don't have a more specific word for them. Check out all of these examples in English. I didn't like the politician. The waiter was very nice to us. Who was the actor that looks like your dad? In all of these cases, if you're talking about a man, you could just replace all of those underlined words with man if you don't know the specific word. I didn't like the man. The man was very nice to us. Who was the man that looks like your dad? And yes, of course, it's useful to have more specific vocabulary like politician and actor, but the point here is that these high-frequency words like hombre are extremely handy in all kinds of situations. So here are the Spanish versions of all of those sentences. I didn't like the man. No me gustaba el hombre. The man was very nice to us. El hombre fue muy bueno con nosotros. Who was the man that looks like your dad? ¿Quién era el hombre que se parece a tu papá? Let's also throw in the word woman, which is mujer. And here are some similar sentences that might use mujer. I didn't like the woman. No me gustaba la mujer. The woman was very nice to us. La mujer fue muy buena con nosotros. Who was the woman that looks like your mom? ¿Quién era la mujer que se parece a tu mamá? Let's get some practice with these. You'll translate the man as el hombre and the woman as la mujer. And I'll also throw in some uses of cosa and casa to keep practicing those. Try to predict the Spanish. She liked the man. Le gustaba el hombre. The woman is here. La mujer está aquí. The woman is at home. La mujer está en casa. The man has the thing. El hombre tiene la cosa. The man and the woman are at my house. El hombre y la mujer están en mi casa. The next noun that we'll learn is Señor. It's similar to hombre, but it's a bit more formal, and it means something more like Mr. or gentleman. You'll often use this word to be polite. For example, it might sound a bit rude to say, that man over there, but if you want to say, that gentleman over there, you could say, ese señor. Here's an example with a full sentence. The gentleman has not been here. El señor no ha estado aquí. Oh, and here's an important tip. Make sure to pronounce this as señor, not señor, unless you want to really sound like a gringo. Maybe think of the word send when you pronounce this, señor, and then you'll get it right. All right, let's get some practice with this. Try to predict hombre or señor in these sentences, and I recommend saying them out loud to practice your pronunciation. The gentleman went home. El señor fue a casa. The man has a nice house. El hombre tiene una buena casa. I didn't see that gentleman. No vi a ese señor. Next, let's look at the word vida, which means life. So as a random example, I have a good life. Tengo una buena vida. It's interesting that both English speakers and Spanish speakers talk about life all the time. Here are several typical examples in English. That's life. Life is good. I've wanted this all my life. Now here's the Spanish for these. Así es la vida. La vida es buena. He querido esto toda mi vida. It's important to notice something about the first two sentences. When talking about life in general, in English we just say life. But in Spanish we say la vida, literally the life. A lot of times, Spanish uses these little words called articles where we would just leave them off in English. Let's get some practice with this. In each case, you'll choose either mi vida or la vida. Life is short. La vida es corta. My life here has been strange. Mi vida aquí ha sido extraña. She loves life. Le encanta la vida. Next, we have three nouns that have something to do with time, which both English speakers and Spanish speakers talk about all the time. See what I did there? We'll start with a simple one, the word for year, which is año. As a simple example, I was there for a year. Estuve ahí por un año. Since the word año is masculine, to say the year, you'll say el año. And sometimes you'll do this even when you would just say year in English. So it's a lot like the word vida in that way. For example, it's open all year. Está abierto todo el año. And then to say this year, you'll say este año. For example, I want to go to Mexico this year. Quiero ir a México este año. Let's practice this. Try to predict whether to use un año, todo el año, or este año. I want to be here all year. Quiero estar aquí todo el año. She worked here for a year. Trabajó aquí por un año. This year I want to speak more Spanish. Este año quiero hablar más español. Next, let's learn how to say the English word time in Spanish. Spanish has two different words that mean time. First, we have tiempo, which represents the passage of time or amounts of time. For example, we have a lot of time. Tenemos mucho tiempo. I lived there for a long time. Viví allí por mucho tiempo. But what if we want to talk about a specific instance of time, like when we say one time or that time? In these cases, we'll use the word vez. And you might remember that vez was at the top of our list. It's the number one most used noun in the Spanish language. Here are some examples that use vez. I went there one time. Fui allí una vez. That time we went to my house. Esa vez fuimos a mi casa. So if it helps, think of tiempo as something that passes slowly. But vez is a one-time event. Here are a couple more examples of each one. We go there all the time. Vamos allí todo el tiempo. She will be there this time. Ella estará allí esta vez. I need more time. Necesito más tiempo. One more time. Una vez más. If this is confusing, don't worry, you'll catch on pretty quickly with some practice. And we don't have time right now to drill all the different ways that you can say time in Spanish. But if you go to SpanishVideoCourse.com, you can get some great quizzing on this and everything else we've learned in this video. All right, we're down to the last two words on our list, and these might be surprising. The word favor means favor, and verdad means truth. When I was first learning Spanish, I looked at these two words and I was like, why are these so high on the frequency list? Do Spanish speakers really talk about favors and truth all the time? But actually, the reason these words are so common is because they're used in some really common idioms. For example, favor is used in the expression por favor, which means please. Of course, favor can mean favor as well. For example, it was a favor. Fue un favor. I need a favor. Necesito un favor. But much more often, it's used in contexts more like this. We want more, please. Queremos más, por favor. I want you to be here, please. Quiero que estés aquí, por favor. And it's the same thing with verdad. So, yes, you can use it to mean truth. For example, the truth is that I don't like it. La verdad es que no me gusta. But more often, it's used in one of these little two-word combinations. De verdad and en verdad. These phrases literally mean of truth and in truth, but they're used all the time to mean really and actually. Here's a simple example. He really is Marcos? ¿Él de verdad es Marcos? So you'll use de verdad to express disbelief, just like we say really in English. It's very often used in questions. So here's another one. It was today. Really? Fue hoy? De verdad? Okay, now for an example of en verdad. Actually, it's very important. En verdad es muy importante. So you'll use en verdad the way that you'd use actually in English, typically to express something that you think is surprising. Here's another example. Actually, I've never been there. En verdad, nunca he estado allí. And this goes to show that the most important nouns in Spanish aren't what you might think. The top 10 nouns are actually the most useful and flexible nouns that you can use in all kinds of situations, partly because of how vague and abstract they are. But that also means that these nouns are a bit harder to master than colors and animal names. To learn these nouns deeply, you need to drill them to perfection and start using them in a wide variety of contexts. If what you want to do is master Spanish for deep expression, not just dabble in random vocabulary, but actually achieve expressive fluency, you can practice everything from this video and from all of our videos at SpanishVideoCourse.com. This free course will systematically take you through all of the top 1,000 Spanish words step by step with 250 lessons designed for deep mastery. You'll get tons of quizzing and sentence practice so the Spanish you're learning becomes second nature, the kind of Spanish you can use in real life. You can access all 250 lessons for free at SpanishVideoCourse.com.